Outstanding. Pow!
FATENZO.com, 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 FATENZO.com. FATENZO.com, FATENZO.com, FATENZO.com.
Bam. Good morning, Poopies. What? Good morning, Poopies. Can we not talk over each other? Patty from Boston.
Okay.
Thank you for joining us today on our show. If you don't know, this is the FATENZO show. Genghis could not be here today because he is under the weather. So let's say a prayer for Genghis. Hopefully he feels better. Joining me today is my guest host. It's Patty from Boston. I wish I could do that. Hold on a second. Oh, the buttons aren't working today. The buttons aren't working today. Anyway, I have something wrong because I think that's why the monitor isn't working in here. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about. By the way, Patty from Boston. We're going to do that. You know what? Maybe I'll play our thing. That's what I'll do. I'll play the. Do I have that on? Wait, before I say that, do I have that? The credo? I don't have the credo. That one that we shot on here. So we're gonna have to say it. Do you have a?
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that?
No, I don't. You can go ahead.
Can I send you a copy?
No, you can't. This was a last minute fill-in situation, and I think I'm going to exercise my rights to go ahead and listen to you do the content creators credo, manifesto, Mephisto.
That's fine. You don't want to.
Whatever we're calling it these days.
You don't want to be a good sport.
No. Like I said, I agree with half of it.
So you don't want to be a good sport. Okay. Well, I changed a couple things in it. Maybe you'll like those. But anyway. So today. On our show, it's Mr. Positive and Mr. Negative, basically. Okay, it's oil and water, it's salt and pepper, however you want to say it. It's me.
I actually did hear that you have tested positive several times,
and get ready.
You're
for
a very positive guy.
Get ready for a lot of jokes like that. That's that New England humor. Get ready for more of that. And we're going to talk. Let me give a rundown of what we're going to talk about today. So in the good news, just so you know, you guys, if you don't know already, we share the good news and the bad news on this show. The good news is from the book and the bad news is of the world. So, in the good news section, I guess we're going to talk about, this is going to be interesting. We'll talk about the feast day of the 72 Christian apostles or disciples. And we'll ask the question, who would win in a no-holds-barred matchup between the 72 Christian apostles and 72 Islamic virgins? How about that? We'll also.
Well, I think it would be more interesting to figure out if who would win between in a battle between 72 Christian apostles and 72 right wing incels.
Okay, we could ask that question too. We're also going to go over the Romanian People's Republic re-education camps. There's a Twitter thread that I have. We're gonna read from the book of Isaiah, Galatians, Luke. In the bad news section, more pro-abortionists are protesting. They're protesting outside of Catholic churches. I have some video of that. Farmers in the Netherlands are not effing around. I got a bunch of videos of them. There's even protests erupting in Libya. There's protests everywhere. Biden blames gas prices on gas stations, like a stupid idiot that he is. Jeff Bezos criticizes Biden about his brain dead tweet. Psychologist talks about gender cues in 1 and 2 year olds, all that and more. There's a lot of stuff on this episode, this 39th episode in the 14th week. It's a 14th Sunday in ordinary time on the FATENZO show. Thanks for tuning in. Let's do the credo, shall we? I know, not we. I'll do it. I'll do the credo. Don't worry about it.
You shall.
Here we go.
Outstanding. Pow!
I believe that the freedom of speech is a universal international right, that all opinions shall be tolerated, regardless if agreeable or disagreeable. I believe in the First Amendment of the United States Constitution, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, not from it, freedom of the press, the right of the people to peaceably assemble, be it physically or digitally or virtually. I believe in the separation of church and state and corporation. I believe that truth is non-binary and can be objective, subjective, normative, or complex. There are no eternal facts, as there are no absolute truths, except the word of God. For us creators and for our content, great thinkers have philosophized, and our founding fathers debated the dangers of cancellation and censorship for centuries. No individual shall be indemnified of criticism or mockery, for there is honesty in jest. I pledge that the ideas I share are my own and are not the expressed opinions of any violent criminal organizations. The only group I represent is the human race, and I reserve the right to interview any of my counterparts without fear, threats, or intimidation, with their opinions being their own, with my opinions being my own, for association does not always equal shared beliefs. I pledge to perform in a professional, dignified manner and to not bully, harass, or slander my fellow human creatures, to refrain from hate, anger, sedition, vulgarity, harassment, pornography, cautioning that sarcasm can at times be misinterpreted as such. I believe in the counter-speech doctrine, that the remedy to negative, harmful speech is more positive, helpful speech, not enforced silence, that no person shall be denied access to social media, which is the marketplace of ideas. In today's town square, that Section 230 privatizes communism and legalizes slander, and that content creators who have broken community guidelines in the past deserve retribution because we're all constituents of the human party and humans are fallible. Amen.
Outstanding. Pow!
And before I take the card off of here, the art card, let me engage in some incest burning.
You notice how it says eaters at the end? It looks like eaters credo. Did you do that on purpose? Just saying. Bobby, I actually like the additions. I like the additions or the changes you may have made to that credo, because I think the idea that association is not necessarily a reason to assume people agree on things is important. You know what I mean? Like, my liberal friends don't understand why I talk to people like you, why I'm friends with people like you and Harrison Smith and Owen Schroyer and all these guys, the right wing Joe Biggs. They don't understand why I would want to talk to you guys, and I don't get why they don't get that. You know what I mean? So I appreciate that. That's
what kind of things do they say to you?
It's a good sentiment. No, they just say, "Why do you waste your time talking to people who disagree with you?" And I'm like, you know what?
That makes
the
no
reason
sense.
that I spend my time. No, it doesn't. You're right. It doesn't. The reason that I spend time, talking to people who disagree with me is because I think, it keeps me sharp in being able to articulate my point of view in the face of somebody else's point of view. Yeah, you don't get lazy. It's really easy to be intellectually lazy when you're in an echo chamber, right? And that goes for the right as much as it does for the left.
Exactly. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So I just
hey man, listen, I don't like dude. That, I have friends in all kinds of walks of life, man. I do, and I'm not, anyway, we'll start anew. Let's just start anew. By the way, do you have any light in that room? I mean, not to be OCD or whatever. I thought you usually set up like a light or something.
Yeah, I have a light.
I thought you had like a light for your podcast. Huh?
I do. What, you want me to
turn it on?
It's on.
It is?
Yeah.
That's better.
Now it's brighter. Okay.
Yeah, that's much better. Whatever. Much better. Okay. Not that I want, not that I care. To make you look better, I don't care if you look like.
Right. I know. The more light on me, the better I look. That's a fact.
So yeah. All that. All right. So let's go into this. Let's go into the show, man. What we do is
you're gonna do the bad news or the good news.
I usually have like the sound, man. I don't know why the sound's not working. Hold on 1 second.
Oh boy.
Okay. You hear all those? All right. Yes, are we going to do the good news first? Let's do the good news.
Okay.
Yeah, good news, baby. All right, today in Mass, here's what we talked about. This is good too, because I love that we're talking to Patty from Boston, because he has the background in Catholicism that you can never really shake, even if you're, a quote unquote, and if you're a quote unquote, whatever you are, whatever you decide to be, if you were like me, you were subjected to this for your entire life, it's hard to shake it, man.
Yeah.
So,
it's impossible.
It's just a way of thinking that now that I'm looking back at it, I'm doing self-examination, Patty, I am seeing the hypocrisy of the Catholic Church, man, and like the insanity of it, even though the intercessory prayer, even though there is a reason, we explain a lot of it away with intercessory prayer. It doesn't exactly say it in the Bible to pray to Mary. I mean, they compiled, it's basically like, yes, I understand that he said on this rock you'll build a church, but whenever you get human beings involved, they get carried away, and so some crazy evolution has happened in the Catholic Church, I believe.
Well, I think when Jesus said that to Peter, though, if you believe in the divinity of Jesus Christ, you would have to believe that he knows well enough to know who to trust. And who to give the Great Commission to. I think that you'd have to say that maybe Jesus has more faith in humanity than you do.
Yes, absolutely, and maybe you have more faith than I do, and you don't even realize it. But anyway, today in Mass, 14th Sunday in Ordinary Time, and from ages past, the prophet Isaiah has promised that the Lord's power shall be known to his servants, and Christ gives the 72 the ability to bestow peace, cure the sick, and survive among wolves like lambs. The 72 return rejoicing at their newfound power. Even the demons are subject to us because of your name. But Jesus wants them to realize the greater and essential dignity he has given them. Rejoice because your names are written in heaven. We too can marvel that the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ has made us a new creation. Peace and mercy and a place in his kingdom enable us to boast in the cross and find comfort with the Lord. So that's like the main takeaway of the Mass today that we had. Let me just go in order. I'll start with the Old Testament, Isaiah. So it's the first reading is from the prophet Isaiah. Thus says the Lord, rejoice with Jerusalem and be glad because of her. All you who love her, exult with her. All you who are mourning over her. Oh, that you may suck fully of the milk of her comfort, that you may nurse with delight at her abundant breasts. For thus says the Lord, lo, I will spread prosperity over Jerusalem like a river, and the wealth of the nations like an overflowing torrent. As nurslings, you shall be carried in her arms and fondled in her lap. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you. In Jerusalem, you shall find your comfort. When you see this, your heart shall rejoice and your bodies flourish like the grass. The Lord's power shall be known to his servants. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. So, look at that, dude. Suck the milk from her breasts, dude. There's another little nod to this kind of this thing. Another body organ, I think, in the second reading. This is the second reading. And I think it's another one from the Old Testament. There's 3 readings a day. The third reading's from the New.
Yeah.
So this is a reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Galatians. Brothers and sisters, may I never boast except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, through which the world has been crucified to me and I to the world. For neither does circumcision mean anything, nor does uncircumcision, but only a new creation. Peace and mercy be to all who follow this rule and to the Israel of God. From now on, let no one make troubles for me, for I bear the marks of Jesus on my body. Oh, this is the New Testament. The grace of our Lord Jesus Christ be with your spirit, brothers and sisters. Amen. The word of the Lord. Thanks be to God.
See, that's an important.
So what is it saying? It's saying that it doesn't matter if you're circumcised or not.
Yeah. So this is a really interesting central division between
tell me
what was considered the main assembly of Jerusalem, which was run by James, who is Jesus's brother, fraternal brother. He was his, actually physically, he was related to him.
he was Joseph and Mary's.
Joseph and Mary's son, yes.
Wow.
So
okay.
I'm sorry, James was really, now a lot of people are going to dispute that, but it's really indisputable. In any event,
thank you.
There's a myth about Jesus being an only child that's just not true. So anyway, and that doesn't speak to the divinity of Jesus. It doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned, or anybody who's being reasonable is concerned. But Paul was preaching. And remember, Paul never met Jesus in life, right? The only interaction between Paul and Jesus comes from Paul's mouth. He swears that he was knocked off his ass on the way, to Damascus, and Jesus appeared to him. But during Paul's life, during Jesus's life, Paul never interacted with Jesus, right? He persecuted Christians, as a matter of fact, right? Including Saint Stephen, who he participated in the execution of. So what we have here is this division between Paul, who is preaching to a Greek, audience, or a Roman audience, who said, hey, look, it's a hard sell to tell these grown men that they have to get circumcised, so we're not going to do it. So he decided that the Jewish traditions that Jesus was raised in, that his brother observed, that all the apostles observed, didn't count anymore. That is a radical diversion from what Jesus had taught.
Yes.
So Jesus never said he's there to abolish the law. He was there to fulfill the law.
These were all the pagans that they were converting.
So, yeah, Paul was trying to recruit. So he was leaving out things that he thought would be an impediment to recruiting. And surely, circumcision to an adult male, definitely, I'm not signing up for that. I don't think you would either, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh, my God. Piazza did it.
That's the difference between Paul. Yeah.
Piazza?
Yeah.
Dude, he did it as an adult.
Oh, no.
Him, his brother, and his father.
I can't even imagine.
Him, his brother, and his father all did it together.
I can't even imagine it. I can't imagine it.
Oh my God. Anyway.
Paul
too
understood
much information.
That, and yeah, so he didn't want. It was an impediment to him recruiting, people to join the faith. So he didn't. He specifically made it clear to everybody that, hey, look, we're not asking you to do that to yourself, or someone else to do that to you. You can be saved through Christ without the certain Jewish traditions that are a little uncomfortable for everybody.
Yeah.
That's why that happened. But James and the assembly in Jerusalem, who stayed behind after Jesus was crucified, they didn't give people a pass on that. They said, hey, look, you've got to keep the law as the law is written, and so that was a major difference between Paul and James, and Paul won basically because his version of Christianity survived and James's did not.
It's awesome, dude. Thank you very much for all that knowledge, bro. Let's read the third.
I love this stuff, man.
Let's read
really
the third.
Enjoy,
I went to Catholic school my whole life, so.
Right. But they don't teach that stuff in Catholic school. They don't really bother getting into it.
The
reason I know it is because I like reading and stuff. But
we learned a lot of crazy stuff, though. When I think back about it, it's like about people having seeing apparitions of Mary and things like that, and it's like then you start looking up hyper religiosity, which is a legit mental disorder, where you say you claim to see visions and things like that, and it's like it sounds like that, I mean, and we use it as Catholic doctrine, dude. It is a little crazy when you start thinking about it, how insane it is.
It's a lot crazy. Yeah, it is.
I can't believe we actually think within this reality, I mean, the whole Trinities.
You're not a lunatic. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain.
No, my friend who I had on yesterday, James, right? He sent me this guy Apostle Geno Jennings. Have you seen him yet? He's great. No. Oh my God. Awesome. Yeah, Geno Jennings is the man, dude. He's got some good stuff on there. And so I was playing some clips of his, and he's totally, dude, he brought up a Mary statue and smashed it right in front of everybody. He was like, why are you?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I don't know why people do this. Like, why do so many, let me ask you a question. Why do so many other denominations? I think like all the other Christian denominations can want to tell all the other religions, including all the other denominations, that they're wrong. Right?
Right. Oh yeah, no, that's
it's not because Catholics don't do it. Catholics don't tell other. We say it within the church. We call ourselves the one true church. Yes, but we don't go out telling everybody they're wrong and things.
Yeah, no, I mean, you hear, I've been studying, and watching a lot of right-wing evangelical Protestant, preachers over the years. Mm-hmm. And there's been like this explosion of them since YouTube's become a thing and social media. And these guys, they're outright hostile to Catholics. They'll say, they use the term the whore of Babylon all the time to describe the Catholic Church, which is just like the most insulting thing you could say. But you talk about Mary, the statue of Mary. I have a funny story. It's real short, but my father was a religion teacher at the Catholic high school that I went to. And I never had him as a teacher. My brother did, but I didn't. I didn't have, it was a big school, so we didn't have to have him as a teacher. But one time he had to cover one of my classes when my teacher was sick or whatever, was absent. So he had to just come in, and all he had to do was just sit there, and it was basically study hall. It was like he didn't teach the class. He just, so he for some reason decided he had to leave about halfway through the class. And so he went into the closet in the classroom and pulled out a statue of Mary that for some reason was in the closet. It was like maybe like a 2-foot tall statue of Mary. And he put it on the desk, pointed at us, and said, "Watch them," and then just left. And he didn't come back the whole class. So we're all staring at this statue of Mary, who's supposedly, in charge of the class, and nobody knew what to do.
Very creative way to get out of your duties.
Oh yeah. I don't even know where he went. He was probably outside smoking cigarettes or something. But I mean,
major respect.
Yeah, it was funny because we didn't know what to do, so we're all standing there silent with this statue staring at us the whole time. It was ridiculous.
Nice. I know. That's like a whole nother thing to go on because I have been self-reflecting about the whole statue thing, and because it does say don't pray to statues, and we tend to, man. I mean, People gather around them and they touch them and they pray to them, or not to them, but they pray in front of them and they light candles in front of them. You know it. And it's
No, I understand. There's a difference between idolatry
self-reflecting though here
and just reverence. And you're right. People go over the line on it all the time. You know, there are Catholics who do engage in idolatry. But I would just say to a lot of the Protestants who think that all Catholics engage in idolatry, I think you're overgeneralizing at that point. You know what I mean? I don't think that's true for everybody. No. I wasn't raised that way. No. You know, so, you know, I know, but I recognize there are people who do it, but they're not participating in their faith the way that they're supposed to, you know?
Correct. All right, let's read the third and final.
Sure. We got Luke here.
Yeah, Luke. All right. So this is a reading from a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. At that time, the Lord appointed 72 others whom he sent ahead of him in pairs to every town and place he intended to visit. He said to them, "The harvest is abundant, but the laborers are few. So ask the master of the harvest to send out laborers for his harvest. Go on your way. Behold, I am sending you like lambs among wolves. Carry no money bag, no sack, no sandals, and greet no one along the way. Into whatever house you enter, first say, 'Peace to this household.' If a peaceful person lives there, your peace will rest on him. But if not, it will return to you. Stay in the same house and eat and drink what is offered to you, for the laborer deserves his payment. Do not move about from one house to another. Whatever town you enter in, they welcome you. Eat what is set before you. Cure the sick in it, and say to them, 'The kingdom of God is at hand for you.' Whatever town you enter, and they do not receive you, go out into the streets and say, 'The dust of your town that clings to our feet, even that we shake off against you. Yet know this, the kingdom of God is at hand. I tell you, it will be more tolerable for Sodom on that day than for that town.' The 72 returned rejoicing and said, 'Lord, even the demons are subject to us because of your name.' Jesus said, 'I have observed Satan fall like lightning from the sky. Behold, I have given you the power to tread upon serpents and scorpions and upon the full force of the enemy, and nothing will harm you. Nevertheless, do not rejoice because the spirits are subject to you, but rejoice because your names are written in heaven.'" The gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. So, it's wild to think that now this particular passage, Luke, it's Luke. This is in all the Bibles, correct? So,
well, Luke is a little different than Matthew and Mark, and John is like a totally separate deal. But Luke was written by somebody who was
Acts Luke,
a disciple of Paul. Yeah, Acts and Luke.
27.5% of the New Testament.
Yeah, so it's you have to look at Luke through the lens of Paul. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying
he was
Patty,
a follower of Paul.
What I'm saying,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that's what it is. So you know what I mean? So like, you know, it's a little different than the other gospels in that it's, and I put John to the side, but Matthew and Mark, which are, you know, two of the synoptics, you know, Luke is a little, I don't want to say embellished because I don't want to denigrate people who believe, but I'm just saying it's a little more heavy duty than Matthew and Mark are. So I think that it's worth pointing out the distinction is all I'm saying.
Right. Acts and Luke are both written by the same writer. And it
same guy. Yeah.
And it compiles 27.5% of the New Testament.
Yes.
And they don't know exactly whowho really wrote it. It could be the guy's name.
No, of course not. We'll never find out.
Yeah. But
no, I mean, you know, whether it's not really relevant.
No, but Acts is a crazy book too, man. And but anyway, are these books are they also in other Bibles, other Christian denomination Bibles? Because I do know that the Catholic Bible has a couple extra books. And so, if I'm talking to somebody.
Well, the four Gospels, the four Gospels are all in, and Acts are all in every Bible that you can find. But what's interesting to me, and this has always been interesting to me, is if you watch a lot of evangelical, like say, Jim Bakker, like the big popular evangelical television shows or YouTube channels that have like millions of viewers, right. They avoid the Gospels like the plague. They really only like the Old Testament prophets, and then they skip all the way to Revelation. I know. They're not really interested in the gospel because it says a lot of things that they don't really agree with.
No, the Catholic,
being tolerant of people, loving your neighbor. Yeah.
The Catholic faith, and you could say what you want about whatever, because you can listen. I always say every path is to each their own. Everybody has their own path to peace, right? This is just what works for me. And the Catholic faith teaches the Bible properly. They do the Old Testament and then how that relates to the New Testament. Because we're supposed to be, that's how you're supposed to read it. It's a new covenant. It's not the old covenant, but people get stuck in the old. And I don't think they understand how to interpret the Bible. And I think that that's why the church exists.
Yeah, no, I think that you're right. And it's funny because like I spent an unusual amount of time paying attention to right-wing evangelical pastors. I find this stuff fascinating. So I do spend a lot of time paying attention to them, and they really have like a violent hatred for Catholics. And sometimes they'll let it go a little bit when they get what they want out of the Supreme Court, and everybody on the Supreme Court is a Catholic. Except
my God, that was so awesome, man!
So, well, that's why we could talk about that in a minute. But like what I'm saying is that these guys they basically look at Catholics like, well, all right, they're useful in this regard because they're gonna vote the way we want in overturning Roe, but they really, in the other side of their mouth, they're calling it the whore of Babylon, and it's just disgusting to me. It's really revolting, and they do the same thing with Israel and with Jewish people. They're like, well, we love Israel because we're told that if we bless Israel, we will be blessed, and all that stuff in the Old Testament, but we think they're all going to hell. So it's almost like they treat them like useful idiots, which is the most insulting thing that you could possibly do. And I just can't stand it. So yeah.
No, I'm sorry for cutting you off. I know that you told me, actually, I don't know, am I allowed to share this? You said for me to be careful about saying priests are specifically only the ones who are allowed or should preach. And I never said that, by the way. I think that like deacons, look at deacons, they're not priests and they preach. So a deacon is basically the same level of understanding, I believe, as far as biblical knowledge that you're going to get at any of those other denominations, because they don't really, they can't take it home. They get to third base, but they can't take it home because you got to do the Eucharist. And you're not.
Well, usually they only get to third base with altar boys. But the point that I was making when I said that was, I think that it's not so much that you should be an ordained priest to be able to have a legitimate biblical opinion or theological opinion. I just think that there are a lot of, and people are going to get upset with this maybe, but there are a lot of Protestant denominations and a lot of Protestant congregations that are willing to put some faith in people who have no biblical background. I'm not saying that you have to agree with me or agree with a Catholic priest or anybody like that, because I'm an atheist in the first place. But I don't think that, I think you should at least be intellectually curious enough to learn some things, right? So getting a degree in theology is not a bad thing. That doesn't mean you're indoctrinated. It means that you're curious and you want to learn. I don't think that you should have to have a degree in theology to preach. I'm a little weary of people who have no academic background in the Bible and preach the word. That doesn't go for everybody. Some people have no academic, background and still can be faithful and preach the gospel as it should be preached. But there are a lot of people who don't. There are a lot of people like Greg Locke, Jim Bakker, Jim Baker admitted that he didn't read the Bible all the way through until he went to prison. This guy made millions of dollars proselytizing on television, and he hadn't even read the book. And I'm still not convinced that he has. So, and the man's 80 years old. So to me, I think there are a lot of people who have very little biblical knowledge and want to tell everybody else what's what and what's who and how's what. And I don't like any of that, man. Doesn't work for me.
Me neither. We're on the
Go
same
to class.
page. Huh?
Yeah.
We're on the same page.
Go to class, get an education. I mean, you've got your diploma from the University of Florida behind you. You're proud of that as well. You should be. I think it's that qualifies you to make comments on people's grammar. You can probably diagram a sentence. I'm confident in that because you went through the education. It's not being snobby.
I hated
to
that.
say that. Well, I know. I mean, I'm not saying you enjoyed it. I'm just saying that you learned to do something and you've got the credentials that prove that. And I just think that, if I'm going to put my faith in somebody's teachings, I really would like to know that they actually studied it. I don't know if that doesn't sound crazy to me.
Well, like I said, I mean, I've said this before. Like, okay, it's universal. The Catholic Church is universal. You already know what you're gonna teach. Let's say you're a priest, right? You went through a certain amount of training. I know that you're vetted. Okay, you're taking it seriously. Obviously, you swore to celibacy. So from where I stand, I can trust what you say because I know you went through the necessary training. Now, can anybody become a priest? Yes, you can have a full family. You were a drug addict, just like all these other people that become evangelical preachers. Priests can have that same life. They can do that, and they can. Sure. But the thing is, you went through a certain amount of education, like you were saying, and that for me makes me feel confident in what you're doing and what you're saying. And just the church in general, because I'd rather an organized religion than a disorganized religion. Personally, I would. Yeah, I like the fact that I can go.
Well, there is a disorganized. There's a disorganized religion in this country. It's called the Democratic Party. In case you haven't noticed, it's disorganized as you possibly can, and it's got a lot of religious elements to it as well.
We're going to get into.
I would tell you though that.
We're going to get into the bad news in a second. We're still in the good news thing.
Yeah.
But this actually kind of.
Well, I'll give
what? Tell me.
As far as good news goes, I can tell you that I had teachers in high school and grammar school and even as far back as kindergarten who were nuns and Christian brothers, right? And they taught subjects that I had a French teacher who was a nun. I had a chemistry teacher who was a Christian brother. When they taught us these subjects because they were experts in these subjects, you know what I mean? So like, just like I want a preacher to be, steeped in the word. I want my chemistry teacher to have a degree that says he can teach chemistry. You know what I mean? So I think it's perfectly reasonable to have a higher bar than some people like Greg Locke are able to meet, or Jim Baker. You know what I mean? Like these guys are not qualified to do the thing that they say they're doing. Not only that, but they're both bigots and they're principally bigoted against Catholics, So and even though I'm not a Catholic anymore, and I haven't been my whole life, since I was 16 years old when I chose not to be confirmed, I still feel offended by that. Like, I don't get offended by much. I try to say I'm not offended by almost anything, but I do get my back up a little bit.
Dude, you're such a punk, bro.
Complaining about Catholics. And I'm like, you know what? That's my family you're talking about right there. So even though I don't have the same faith as them anymore, you're talking about my mother and father and my grandmother and F you, by the way,
Exactly.
By the way, are you not impressed by the fact that I haven't cursed yet?
Very good. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that.
All right, I'm doing my best. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I'm
housebroken.
Speaking of bad Catholics, though, look at Pelosi, man. Pelosi went and met the Pope. And she took the Eucharist, even though, she supports abortion. And you could say what you want. And you can take whatever position you want, but I'm talking about just the hypocrisy. Because I know that you're a guy like me who, regardless, that you'll call out the hypocrisy, regardless of what side it is, right?
Yeah, but here's the question. Is it a sin to have an opinion or a sin to commit an act?
What do you mean?
So Nancy Pelosi's opinion, her political opinion, is that abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. That's her stated position, right? Now that defies Catholic doctrine, right?
Right.
Of course it does. All Christian doctrine, but specifically she's a Catholic, right? So an Italian Catholic as well.
You're saying But
here's the thing: if she doesn't commit the act, how has she violated any sort of Catholic doctrine? She hasn't. She hasn't had an abortion.
Listen, I am not going to throw stones. You're right. I'm not going to even. You're right. Let's move on. I'm not going to throw stones, bro. Okay. So okay, I wanted to play the homily. All right. So I'm not. I hope this came out a little bit. It's recorded in a church, and there's a lot of echoing, right? But this is really interesting to me, Patty, because the thing I talk about all the time is the epiphany that I got from JLP. All right. That meditation and spirituality need to go together. And oh my God, what's so great is this is going to tie in with you. This is from a new priest. It was his first day today. Guess where he's from? Guess where this idiot is from? This moron, this scum, this pure scum. Yes. He's from Boston.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. He's a Boston Irishman. Okay. And, and so anyway, I love him. I said what's up to him on the way out. And I was just like, I understand everything you just said, just reinforced like what I do. And I was like, I'm a daily mass attender. I'll see you. He's like, we were both pumped because what he talks about is meditation, just like I was talking about. So this is the first priest I've really seen that really is pushing meditation, dude. Centering yourself during a centered prayer, being quiet, silencing your mind. He said it's a prayer sentence. So you basically come with a sentence. And I didn't even realize this, but it's something that I always do anyway. My sentence that I say to myself is, dear God, come into my heart, show me the right way to live, Just I say that. I've always said that for like a long time. And if you say that to yourself enough,
there's nothing new age or weird about that. Like that's, a lot of these people like to say
this guy
meditation is some sort of new age thing. It's not true.
All right, check it out. See, I hope you could hear it. Listen to this. All right. I boosted the audio as much as possible.
Last week I had the privilege of being on a retreat at Our Lady of Florida Spiritual Center. Have you heard of that place? It's the Passionist retreat house in the village of North Palm Beach. And it's a really wonderful place, a beautiful place, and it was a great retreat. And it's really a privilege to have an opportunity like that. And I was thinking of the events of the recent past, very recent. And it's been a tough week, hasn't it, with the news? More than a tough week, but a lot of things. We can go back to even the beginning of COVID. It's been a very challenging period. And the opening prayer today, the calling from the Mass, talked about being a people of holy joy and being a people filled with God's peace and love. And in a culture like this, at a time like this, that doesn't naturally come. I mean, there are a lot of forces working against it, aren't there? Do you find it hard sometimes to keep an equilibrium and an attitude to it like that's positive? But so many things seem to be an issue in our country and beyond. And yet that is what we're called to be. It seems to me that some sort of intentional practice would help being this people of holy joy that the liturgy today calls us to be. Being a people of peace and love and joy. Wouldn't it be nice if you could go to Publix when they have their BOGOs? Don't you wait for their bulletin every week to see what you can get 2 for $1 off? Otherwise it's a little pricey. But you can say, I'll take 2 packages of joy. I'm going to take 2 more packages of peace. And I take 4 packages of love. and get to that register and be surprised at the great savings that you had. Boy, did it were that easy. Any store that had that offering would have a line out the door, wouldn't it? 24 hours a day. But there is another place that offers food and drink and community that can be of help. We have to be intentional about choosing an attitude of faith rooted in God's love. And I'd just like to suggest one practical practice, and it probably is one that you've heard of before. So this is something one can do to sustain what the liturgy today calls us to be. People who, even in the midst of turmoil all around us, because we know who we are and whose we are, we can still maintain a sense of equilibrium, the sense of inner peace that nothing can shake. But it has to be worked at, because there's all kinds of forces trying to chip away at it. It's called the active prayer sentence. It actually goes by many other names as well. And this is a prayer practice you can do in many places. You can do it faithfully, even while you're actually involved in another task. In other words, this practice could be done while peeling the potatoes, or out for your daily walk.
Potatoes.
Or in the shower. It can be done anywhere and any time that we don't need to be focused on.
I peel potatoes in the shower.
With another person, of course. So rather than just let our mind run, as it usually does with thought after thought, things about the past, things about the future, things we forgot to do, why not use that time for a remembrance of who we are and whose we are as God's people, made in God's image and likeness. And it's done then as simply as in silence, saying it to oneself, to choose a favorite phrase or short sentence and just interiorly repeat it in a prayerful way. Have you ever heard of a practice like that before? You have to choose your phrase. What happens over time is the sentence will begin praying itself inside us. In other words, it becomes part of our consciousness. And in time, it's one small aid to keep us on the road of being these people of holy joy and peace. What are some possibilities? Jesus, have mercy. And if you can couple the phrase by breathing in and breathing out, it even helps the body cooperate. Jesus, have mercy. Can you imagine saying that, let's say over a month, maybe thousands of times, as we choose, different times of the day, whenever we remember to do it, that wouldn't have an impact on us? Another phrase, Christ my light. Or, Hail Mary, full of grace. Or, Our Lady of Hope, be with me. Or, I like this one. It's one I've been using. Breath of God, breathe in me. Breath of God, breathe in me. Remember in Genesis, after God had finished putting Adam together from the clay of the earth, it said God knelt down next to him and breathed God's own breath into him. That's what got the human machine moving. God's own breath is what keeps us alive. Breath of God, breathe in me. Or another image I've always found very helpful. The Lord is my shepherd. The Lord is my shepherd. Or you can say two words like acceptance, surrender. Do you have a favorite prayer, phrase, or sentence that comes to mind as you hear this? Something really helps you be in touch with God? Well, try this practice out if you think it would be good. That we might grow in this spirit of peace and joy that is always the hallmark of Christian life.
You hear that, dude? So he was right on my level as far as why I told him when I was on my way out, I was like, when I pray, I don't even say anything. I just, cause God knows what's in your heart. So I just shut up basically. And he's like, yep. He knows what's up.
Yeah. I think, and I can tell he's from Dorchester, guaranteed. I can hear the voice, but, yeah, you know what? It's funny because I've never heard, I'm sure they exist, but I've never heard a Catholic priest who is aggressively angry at other Christian denominations.
No.
But I've heard it the other way around for sure.
Me too.
Right?
Yeah.
Heard it a lot. So
I don't get it.
Like, well, you know what? And I'm not defending. Look, the Catholic Church has a lot of problems. Obviously, we know about them, right? But that doesn't mean that every Catholic priest is I don't even want to get into it, but we understand. That doesn't mean
no,
all these
they
guys
don't.
are doing.
Look at this
things.
guy. This guy is not. He's not a. You could just tell, dude. He's not a.
I know. But the leadership of the church for a long time was, in fact, like sweeping things under the rug and moving people around and not addressing problems. And I get that, and that's a legitimate beef. But what a lot of these Protestant preachers do, a lot of evangelical American Protestant preachers do, is they take, like, they get vitriolic, against Catholics for believing things that they don't believe. I don't see it going the other way. So I just think that it's hateful and it's bigoted, and I'm not a big fan of it.
And some of them,
that's not to say every evangelical is that way, because they're not. But there are some very popular pastors, and I use the term loosely, that make money denigrating the Catholic Church, denigrating Jews, and denigrating just about everybody who doesn't see their very narrow view of theological fact, and it's disgusting to me. So
what I see a lot of is them not really, in my opinion, understanding, or they wouldn't even. I don't even think they should call themselves Christians, because they don't really believe Jesus Christ was God. I don't think they really do, because they preach the Old Testament a lot, and they skip over a lot of those chapters. Right. It's really weird.
Yes. No, they're really allergic to the gospel. They really are. You know what I mean? Like it's as if they run the other way. And I'm like, there are more, the Old Testament. If you read, I would use like Job as an example. There are some really disgusting, absolutely silly and nonsensical books in the Old Testament. That like Job specifically. His daughters seduced him so that he wouldn't leave the house. Like, this is nonsense. This is written by crazy people.
This is when everybody was a heathen still, before Jesus got here.
Yeah. Right. And you look at the stories of Sodom and Gomorrah and all this stuff. I mean, this stuff doesn't fit with the gospel. You know what I mean? And I think that if you're a true Christian, you're willing to accept the fact that a lot of the Old Testament is nonsense. All you really need is the gospel. That's all you need.
Right.
If you're a Christian, the only thing you really need to believe is that Jesus Christ is the only Son of God and he died for our sins.
Yep.
And that's all you need to be. All you need to believe to be a Christian.
That's
Anything
right.
Past that, that's extra. Like,
it's crazy, man. It's crazy.
That.
Yeah.
That's non-negotiable. Everything else is sort of, well, okay, whatever.
They shouldn't even call themselves Christians. Some of them, some of the denominations shouldn't even call themselves Christians. They don't truly.
If you want to be Jewish, just be Jewish.
Just be Jewish.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
No, it's true though, but it's true. Just listen, if you want to be Jewish, just be Jewish. Just go to be Jewish.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I know.
Because that's what that is.
These guys have like a fetish with Judaism that's not even, it's also insulting to Judaism is what it is. Because, like I said, they look at them as, well, we need for revelation to come to fruition. We need the Jews to exist in Israel and in Jerusalem, and then we can have the whole apocalyptic fantasy that these guys have. But that's not respectful of Jews. That's using them as a tool, and that's awful as well. Like it's just I can't the evangelical Protestantism in the mainstream evangelical Protestantism has become so strange and so foreign to real Christianity over the last, say, 30 years that I just don't even recognize it.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
I know plenty of good Protestants, but,
You're absolutely right. Seriously. Now, I want to do a little bit of teaching here. Let me look into this 72 apostle thing because I want to read about it. I don't know anything about it. Everything that I read on here, I haven't pre-read. I mean, sometimes I'll pre-read or I'll hear it in mass. I'll hear the gospel. Yeah. But anyway, I want to talk about this 72, the feast day, the 72 Christian apostles. It's kind of amazing, that whole story behind it. So I found this from Loyola Press. Let me share my screen. So it says, God speaks to us in many ways, including through the Sunday scripture readings. The Sunday Connection provides useful background and activities to better understand the upcoming Sunday scripture readings, helping you to connect the scripture to daily life in a meaningful way. So this is a pretty cool website right here. And let me tell you the background on the gospel reading. So today's gospel begins immediately after the final verse in last Sunday's gospel. After a strong language about the difficulties of discipleship, Jesus immediately appoints 72 people to go ahead of him to every town and place he plans to visit, proclaiming that the kingdom of God is at hand. He sends them in pairs. In the law of Moses, 2 witnesses were needed for a testimony to be credible. It was probably also a safer way to travel. Jesus admits it will be difficult, that he is sending them out like lambs among wolves. Yet they are to bring nothing with them, not even a money bag or sandals. They are to greet no one on the way so as not to be distracted from their mission. When they enter a house, their message is simple: peace. That's the whole point of the Mass. The Mass is all about peace. It's meditation plus spirituality equals peace. And the sacrifice is going to Mass. Anyway,
that's a good t-shirt idea.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. The response they will receive may be positive or negative. Either way, they are to know that the kingdom of God is at hand. They are not to demand special treatment, but eat and drink whatever is given them. They are to stay in one house and to not look around for one that provides better accommodations. They are to heal the sick as a sign that the kingdom of God is at hand for them. Like Jesus' miracles, healing is a sign of the kingdom, of the coming of the kingdom. If the town will not receive them, they are to shake the dust from their feet and move on. Even in the case of such rejection, they should know that the kingdom of God is at hand. When they return from their journeys, they are rejoicing because their mission has been successful. Demons were under their power because of Jesus' name. Jesus may have sent them out as lambs among wolves, but at the conclusion of this passage, he assures them that they have been given power over the enemy and nothing will harm them, not even serpents and scorpions. A key theme of today's gospel and last Sunday's gospel is discipleship, its challenges, its difficulties, and its rewards. Sharing in the mission of Jesus is difficult, but everyone is called to do it, not just some professionals trained for ministry. Even for us today, the harvest is plentiful. We should pray to the master of the harvest to send out workers for his harvest. Wow. So it's kind of like goes in a little bit of what you were just talking about, dude, right? What we were just talking about kind of coincides. So I guess we got that too from that.
Yeah, I think that, you know what, it's funny because if you look at the way that the gospel can be preached by a lot of, popular preachers in America now, it's almost like they read a completely different book, because this is telling you, hey, look, even if you're abused, even if you're insulted, even if you're cast out, you're to preach a gospel of peace.
Yes.
Not denigrate other people.
It's supposed to be about peace, man. That right there, dude, that tells you right there. If you're not doing it, if it's not about peace, then I don't want anything to do with it. Because at the end of the day, the only thing I'm interested in is peace. That's the only thing.
Yep.
So let me read also from the book of Wikipedia by a blue hair or green or yellow hair person. one of your ilk.
Oh, man.
So
I did have blue hair in high school.
yeah, this is the 70 disciples thing, man. This is interesting. Did you know about this before we talked about it?
The 70 disciples, this Wikipedia article?
Who would win in a matchup between 72 disciples and 72 Islamic virgins? All right, listen, the 70 disciples or 72 disciples known in the Eastern Christian traditions and the 70 apostles or 72 apostles were early emissaries of Jesus mentioned in the Gospel of Luke. The correct Greek terminology is evdomikonta apostili. Oh my God. I'll butcher the other one, or I'll butcher the other one.
Well, you got to understand that virgins are going to be angry by nature.
According, so yes, you're right. You're right. You're right. That's true. There's
pretty angry people. Yeah.
Yeah. But are the apostles celibate at this point? I don't know. I don't think they are. It could be two celibate people.
I don't think there's any rule about being, you don't have to be
two groups of celibate people, man and woman, against each other. Who's going to win in a battle of wits? No holds barred death match. According to the Gospel of Luke, the only gospel in which they appear, Jesus appointed them and sent them out in pairs on a specific mission, which is detailed in the text. The number of those disciples varies between either 70 or 72, depending on the account. In Western Christianity, they are usually referred to as disciples.
I'm assuming it's 70 because 70 times 7 is how many times you should forgive somebody who has wronged you. So I would imagine that that's probably a consistent number throughout the,
Yes. Whereas in Eastern
72 is an Islamic thing.
It could be. So wait, 70 times. What are you talking about? 7 times what?
Jesus said you should forgive people who are. Yeah. Jesus said that you should forgive your people who have wronged you 70 times 7 times, right? So I'm assuming that 70 is probably the number we're dealing with here because it's consistent throughout the Bible. But 72 is the number of virgins, but that's from the Quran, not from the Christian.
No, the Bible says 72.
I mean, I'm just guessing here, but
the Bible that we just read, the Bible verse we just read says 72 in the Catholic Bible.
Right. But that's Luke, and that could be a bad translation. It could be. I mean, it doesn't matter really. I'm just saying.
All right. So back to it really quick. Let me finish this. So yeah, according to the Gospel of Luke, the only gospel in which they appear, Jesus appointed them and sent them out in pairs, right? In Western Christianity, they are usually referred to as disciples, whereas in Eastern Christianity, they are usually referred to as apostles. Using the original Greek words, both titles are deceptive, as an apostle is one sent on a mission. The Greek uses the verb form apostelen, whereas a disciple is a student. But the two traditions differ on the scope of the words apostle and disciple. So, interesting. And then it shows the Bible text. We've already read that. Hey. Stop. The analysis is, dude, chill. It's getting, because July 4th, man. He's hearing it. How is Crash, man? Is Crash hearing the, you got bombs going off yet?
Not yet, but he's actually pretty good about that every year. Our old dog Murphy, who passed away back in 2016, he freaked out about the fireworks, and they get really loud here because I'm just maybe 3 miles away from the Hat Shell, which is where they have the huge celebration, and the Boston Pops play. And it's a big deal. So I'm close enough to we're gonna feel like the house shake a little bit tomorrow. So
nice. That's good that he's good with that. This guy's new, so he's the new guy. Anyway, yeah. Back to it. Really. So the analysis from Wiki. This is the only mention of the group in the Bible. No kidding. Really? Wow. The number is 70. In some manuscripts of the Alexandrian and Caesarian text traditions, but 72 in most other Alexandrian and Western texts. It may derive from the 70 nations of Genesis 10, or the many other occurrences of the number 70 in the Bible, or the 72 translators of the Septuagint from the letter of Aristeas. Doesn't matter. In translating the Vulgate, Jerome selected the reading of 72. The Gospel of Luke is not alone among the synoptic Gospels, and containing multiple episodes in which Jesus sends out his followers on missions. The first occasion, Luke 9, in closing, based on the limited mission in Mark 6, which, however, recounts the sending out of the 12 apostles rather than 70, though with similar details. The parallels suggest a common origin in the hypothesized Q document. Luke also mentions the Great Commission to all nations, but in less detail than Matthew's account, and mentions the dispersion of the apostles. What has been said to the 72 in Luke 10 is referring in passing to the 12 in Luke 22. He said to them, "When I sent you forth without a money bag or sack of sandals, were you in need of anything?" "No, nothing," they replied. So feast day is a feast day commemorating the 70, is known as the Synaxis of the 70 apostles in Eastern Orthodoxy, and is celebrated on January 4th. Each of the 70 apostles also has individual commemorations scattered throughout the liturgical year. I think it got moved to the 3rd today because of July 4th, or I don't know. Or is it just on the 3rd today?
Think they would do that.
They do. They change some stuff in Catholicism sometimes for weird reasons. We already went about it. We already saw it. Look at all the here's all the disciples' names. Look at all these guys. 72 of them. Wow. What's crazy is that they they say in the Bible that these people were given the power to absolve sins. Like we went over that a day ago, a couple days ago. And I just think it's crazy. It's these people are given supernatural powers by this God man. The story is completely insane, right? Is a story completely insane?
Well, again, this is where we run into the idea of intercession and the fact that, you don't necessarily believe that these people can forgive sins on their own, but they can ask God to forgive a sin. And it's a little bit
a
boost.
No,
if God, if God hears from these guys, it's got a little more cred than if you just ask directly. So that's not necessarily, they can't necessarily forgive a sin. God is the only person, is the only one who can do that.
I swear those 72,
you get a little bit of a better chance of it happening if you ask these guys.
No, I think those 72.
You may see that as splitting hairs, but
those 72, because I've read about them. I've read about them on other passages. Like the way that the way that they teach you in the Catholic Church is amazing. I love it. The way that every single day, if you go every day, you'll read the whole Bible eventually, just by default. If you go every day, right. But they do it in a succinct way where they're explaining everything and they're relating everything, and they don't skip around. It just kind of goes just along the whole storyline, right? So in the storyline, a couple days ago, no, they do not. They do not. Thank you very much. That's great.
Huh?
Good. They don't freestyle. I mean, some do a little bit during the homily. You have your chance to interpret things.
Right.
But so anyway,
want to get to the bad news?
No, yeah, we're going to get into the bad news right now. But my point is, we learned that these people were actually given the ability to cure them of their sins, to forgive them of their sins. We learned that. That's just amazing. The whole story is crazy. It's a crazy thing to accept. I mean, it is a fantastic story. If you really, once you really start getting into it and realizing what it is. And I don't think Christians really.
Does that tell you something? Because it's only in Luke. Does that maybe tell you something that maybe it's not true?
Might be. But there's a lot of stuff. But what about, all right. Anyway, how about this? This is just a segue, dude. This is a protest that's happening outside of the Catholic churches now due to the pro-abortion thing. Here, let me show you this.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not good with the dumb buttons. Anyway, yeah, so that was a cue to go into the bad news. We're going to talk about the news from the world. All right. Yeah. So Biden gas is going crazy. Look at this. Mm-hmm. This is in the news right here.
I don't know if his gas is crazy. I know that gas prices are up.
All right, let's get into
Biden's
this right here. Check it out. Let's dissect this little infographic I made on the fly. All right, so we got his tweet up on the top left. My message to the companies running gas stations and setting prices at the pump is simple. This is a time of war and global peril. Bring down the price you're charging at the pump to reflect the cost you're paying for the product, and do it now. Underneath, prominent Twitter dude Tim Young, he says, even the person who wrote this tweet knows it's complete BS, and gas stations don't control what they ultimately can charge. People aren't this stupid. And then someone underneath says, I showed this to the gas station attendant, and he said, why are you showing me this? And I was like, the president said to charge me less, and he smirked but charged me the same amount. So check it out as we move to the side of the slide. Who to blame for gas prices? There's a meme, and it shows Biden, and he already used the Putin was one of the blames. The oil companies, individual gas station owners now are at okay, and then as you can see the absurdity, the guy who changes out the numbers on the sign, dinosaurs for going extinct and not hanging around to make more oil. Look, if you see crude oil is up substantially, natural gas is up, gasoline, every single kind of gas is up over the year, about at least 50 to, in some cases, 181% over the course of a year. So Jeff Bezos had something to say about it. He said, ouch, inflation is far too important a problem for the White House to keep making statements like this. It's either straight ahead misdirection or a deep misunderstanding of basic market dynamics. And someone responding as well to President Biden said, news dump, Biden administration to block new offshore drilling in Atlantic and Pacific, but limited lease sales in Gulf of Mexico and a new 5-year plan. Department of Interior proposal is consistent with transition to clean energy economy. And that is from the first. So as you can see, the hypocrisy of your side, dude, the left. Talk to me.
Okay, so I've always thought that it was a big mistake for presidents to take credit for low gas prices because they have almost no control over that. It's a global market, meaning we've got high gas prices in every single country on earth right now. So it isn't unique to the United States. When you take credit for low gas prices, you should also have to take blame for high gas prices. And this is dangerous because you can't take the credit when you don't want to take the blame, right? So I think it's asinine that Trump took credit for low gas prices. I think it's asinine that Obama took credit for low gas prices. I think it's really unfair to say that when prices went up in any presidency, that it's the fault of the president. There's only two real things that American president can do to influence gas prices. One is to start a dumbass war in the Middle East, right? That will raise your gas prices, right? Or you can lower gas prices by releasing the reserve oil that we have, right? So, but either one of those things only kind of tilts the scale just a little bit, right? Most of these increases or decreases in gas prices have to do with market forces that are global, that don't just involve the United States. And I hear people on the right say, well, Biden decided to kill the Keystone Pipeline. Now, the Keystone Pipeline, even if he had continued with the schedule that Trump was on, wouldn't be built by now. That last quarter of the 4 quarters of the Keystone Pipeline wouldn't be done until next year. So it has absolutely no effect on this, right? Now, Biden is talking stupidly, as he is wont to do, right? As he does all the time, by making him seem out of touch with what's actually going on. People don't want to hear it's not my fault. That's never a good defense, right? But the reality of it is that there's very little we can do until the oil and gas companies decide to stop gouging the American people. Now, that's not the original. That's not the gas. That's not the gas station that you go to and fill up at the pump, right? Those guys are not making any more money than they were, right? It's Shell, it's ExxonMobil, it's BP. These guys are gouging us, and that's not new. That happens all the time. They're taking advantage of a situation where we had a lack of supply, a lack of demand, during the pandemic, and now we have an increase in demand, and they're trying to make their money back. It's very simple supply and demand economics. I don't know when it's going to stop, and there's also a ton of speculation that's going on. So if you think that you know what Joe Biden could magically do to lower gas prices, I want to know what it is, because it doesn't exist. That doesn't mean that he's not talking out of his ass, because he is. But he could not lower gas prices. You think if he could do it, he wouldn't? He wants to lower gas prices because his reelection depends on it. But he can't. That's just reality. So go and say some other silly stuff.
Here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, you don't even understand about consumer confidence, my friend. This entire country is the United States of America Incorporated. Okay. We are in a big umbrella corporation, and every single person is a part of that. You're operating, they know that you have a certain amount of money that you're going to generate over the course of your life. So if you really think about it on a macro level and understand it, we're set up like a corporation. I just shared this slide talking about policy. Look at the policy. Look at the policy on the right over here. You see it. This is a news dump. Biden admin to block new offshore oil drilling in Atlantic and Pacific, but limited lease sales in Gulf of Mexico in a new 5-year plan. Do you understand? This is when you.
Which one of those oil companies has said, I want a new lease that I
listen to me.
9,000 plus
I just let you talk.
Oil leases that are unused.
I just let you speak uninterrupted. You're not understanding that there is the president is like a cheerleader, man. They're the CEO of this great land. And really, when you think about it, you're supposed to run it like a corporation, the way that Trump did. And that's obvious now that we know in hindsight that he was doing something right. We know that what he does is right. Okay. You can say whatever you want, but we are probably going to be returning back to that. And I'll go ahead and bet you $1,000 on that right now. So,
what policy are you talking about, though?
What do you mean?
What policy did Trump have in place that Biden doesn't have in place that would fix the gas crisis?
Because what is it? The whole thing is he's emanating. You are going to lower.
It's feelings and emotions.
Listen. The supply thing is BS, dude. You don't know how much. Nobody knows how much we have, bro. Are you serious? They're trying. It's all orchestrated.
Feelings. It's okay if you want to be. Hey, look, Bobby. If feelings are more important than facts, to you, that's okay. You can just be a girl.
I've said my piece. Let's continue. Look at the farmers out in the Netherlands. Have you seen this? Have you seen the farmers in the Netherlands?
Never seen farmers in the nether regions. No.
Dude, they're getting crazy. Let me Google something because you didn't. Hold on. Farmers. Netherlands.
Yeah, I didn't have any prep.
They're getting crazy. Dutch farmers. Why are Dutch farmers protesting in the Netherlands? Farmers protest around the Netherlands as lawmakers voted Tuesday on proposals to slash emissions of damaging pollutants, a plan that will likely force farmers to cut their livestock herds and stop work altogether. Okay, so check this out. They're getting crazy, dude. I got 6 little short, like 30-second clips here of just them going nuts, dude.
Before we do that, though, can they start cutting emissions from Dutch ovens? I think that would be a good idea. There's a lot of emissions.
Refuse. Like they're blasting that. I got another video of them blasting that on a my mind raced, and I thought, what could I do? And I knew there was no help from you. Sound like that beating in my heart. I love it, dude. Hold on.
We hebben zaterdag de ronde van Nederlands kampioen.
They're shooting cops, dude. They're shooting cops with
Is that
with refuse. Hold on.
That's gross. What are they upset about?
They just told you they cut all this they're basically going green, dude. They're doing what we're doing. They're forcing us to go green, bro. That's what they're doing all worldwide. Nice. Dude, crazy, right? What do you think?
Yeah. Well, that's wild. As much as I may, dislike police, I don't think firing manure at them is a reasonable reaction to, public policy.
The Dutch are not messing around
with the line.
Yeah.
The Dutch, basically all they do is mess around, but they seem to be doing the mess around. They're they're a little bit fired up.
The mess around.
I don't know. Yeah. Ask Big Joe Turner about that. I don't know what's going on there. I mean, I lived in Europe for a couple of years. It's a different situation. I think a lot of times people on the American right, they like to assume that they understand European politics, And, so they'll say like, what was it? The yellow vest thing a couple of years ago. They're like, oh, well, this is like a right wing kind of deal. But then you drill into it and you're like, well, no, this has almost nothing in common with the right wing Republican Party in America. So I'd say that this is probably more complicated than you think it is. I don't know anything about it. And like I said, I didn't have any show prep today, so I wasn't able to look at this stuff. But you may find that those people don't agree with you. And maybe they're rioting or shooting poop. They're shooting the stuff. I'm not going to say the word, but literally shooting the stuff for reasons that you're not necessarily familiar with, and that I'm not, because they have different circumstances than us. When I lived in Sicily, I found it very difficult to understand people in Europe. They're just not like, they're not wired like we are.
If you think that Europe is bad, look at this in Libya. I don't know why they're doing that. What do you think about that?
I think that they're pissed off because they're in Libya. And I don't know if you've ever been to Africa, but I have. And I'm telling you that it is a hellscape, mostly. So, there's probably a lot of reasons why they want to burn their country down, because their country is useless. And mostly they've been under a dictatorship for up until 2015, 20. I don't even know, when did Gaddafi get killed? It was 20. I don't know what it is, 2012, 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there. But yeah, it's a disaster zone. I mean, of course people are pissed off. I mean, it's just going to be the way it is. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but it's not surprising.
Right. So here's another thing. Kids in the drag queen, another drag queen show. I think this is in Miami, actually, dude. Look at this. This is from Lauren Chen. She tweets, "These people belong in jail. This is a hill I am willing to die on." She says, cheering on absolute depravity to make their own degeneracy seem tame by comparison. She gave a little screenshot, I guess, of people maybe who shared images of the event or maybe orchestrated the event. I don't know. It says, the person who sent this to me says it was in Miami. Aren't there any laws against this in Florida? And she, tagged Ron DeSantis and stuff. So she says, continues, she says, we know the venue where this happened. Is anyone going to do anything about it? Disgusting. This is where it was. It was in Miami. The person that posted the video on TikTok tagged them. And there it is. That's, if you want to check it out, it's, what is it? Our House Wynwood. Our House Wynwood. I don't want to check it out. Anyway, I got a video of that. Here we go.
No, you know what?
Watch.
Well, all right. Bye.
Wow. That's insane, dude.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, insane, I know you're a liberal.
Drag queen, that's a stripper. No, but that's not. Don't put that on me. Don't put that on me. That's child abuse.
Move that mic back.
Abuse.
Move that mic towards you more. Move that mic towards you more.
That's child abuse, and it's unacceptable. And I would never tolerate. And that's a stripper, not a drag queen. There's obviously a big difference, but that's child abuse. That person should be arrested.
Well, it's a transgendered.
Absolutely.
It's a drag.
Well, I don't give a damn who it is. Like whatever, but. It's that's not. I mean, there's nobody in their right mind who would accept that as reasonable behavior.
No,
and you shouldn't. Obviously, like as somebody who does photography for a living, and like I go out of my way to not photograph children, because if you're being ethical, you have to get permission from somebody's parents to post a photo of a child or minor on social media or anywhere else. And I just like, I would never do that. Like I just ethically, that's disgusting. I mean, I can't even tell you, like, I feel sick to my stomach even watching that crap. I don't support that. And I think most liberals don't. I think that's just an extreme, pack of jackasses who don't speak for your average liberal voter, or your average liberal in general. I think that if I were to go and say that Nick Fuentes speaks for every single Republican, you would say, well, that's not fair. So I would think that it's not fair for you to say that
dude, don't use your logic against me like that. I don't like that. I don't.
I'm good at it, and I'm going to continue to do it. So yeah, no, that's disgusting. There's no defense for that kind of behavior. Bringing a little girl or a little boy into an environment where people are, that's just, I can't even describe how stupid that is.
It's insane, dude. Now this is from your side.
It is insane. Definition of insanity.
It is. This is from your side. I think that you could say that at least.
It's not from my side.
No. Let me. Leftists. Those are leftists, but this is from your side. Hold on one second. I'm showing you. So this is a tweet. This is Jerry Dunleavy. He says, former Disinformation Governance Board Director Nina Jankowicz retweeted a tweet claiming that Clarence Thomas was spreading misinformation based on a tweet that Politico had to delete because it was spreading misinformation about Clarence Thomas. And this is the hypocrisy of the left, dude. It's really bad right now, man. I mean, you can't deny it. So when misinformation makes it into a SCOTUS judgment dissent, this person, Cindy Otis, and then he retweets her, right? And says Jankowicz's retweet has now disappeared because of the original tweeter. Also, a purported disinformation expert. She's now deleted her own tweet falsely claiming Clarence Thomas had been spreading misinformation. And then there's an update where the tweets have been protected, so she's probably cleaning them up. But then someone says very brilliantly, this is what they do. Goebbels, that's the Nazi, right?
Goebbels
would be so proud. And she's right. Yeah. That person's right. She's right. Whatever pronoun.
Look, I mean, you're asking me to defend something I don't want to defend, so I got nothing.
Are you serious?
I agree with you.
What do you think about that? I
agree with you. It's
the misinformation board in the beginning was just ridiculous, right? That whole idea. Who's going to determine what truth is?
Well, they didn't do it, so I don't know what it matters, but it never happened.
You know what's so funny? You're an apologist. The same way.
I'm not an apologist. I'm saying, look, if that went into
quiet
action,
you. Listen to me. Just the same way that some saints are apologists for the Catholic Church. You even said that the Democratic Party is like a religion in a lot of ways. You are an apologist for the Democratic Party, dude.
I make no apology. That was wrong. I don't know why won't you take yes for an answer, Bobby? I agree with you.
Okay. How about this? This is a psychologist.
What more do you want me to say?
No. Okay.
You want me to start flogging myself?
Oh, yes. No. That's great. Listen, I appreciate you being on here, and this is great. Like, I love the fact. Actually, this is actually works pretty well. I would love to do this more often with you, every now and again. Because you did grow up with the Catholic thing, and then you have a different perspective on life. Not totally, but a little bit. And I think it's pretty good. It leads to a good conversation. Listen to this, though. This is more about the trans thing. It's a psychologist who says you got to look for the gender cues in 1 and 2 year olds. Watch this.
A very strong message that people have been talking about this morning is listening to the child and letting them tell us. So I'm just wondering if there are recommendations for pre-verbal children. So between the ages of 1 and 2, suggestions of how to approach the topics that we're talking about today.
Okay, so the question is, what about the kids between 1 and 2 who are just developing language or may not even have it yet? They're very action-oriented. So, and at that time, this is where mirroring is really important and listening to actions. So let me give you an example. I have a colleague who's transgender, and there is a video of him as a toddler. So he was assigned female at birth. There's a video of him as a toddler tearing barrettes out of then her hair and throwing them on the ground and sobbing. That's a gender message. And when it happens not just once or twice or 3 times, that's a gender message. Sometimes kids between the age of 1 and 2 with beginning language will say, I boy, when you say girl. Those 2 words, I boy. That's not a pre-verbal, but an early verbal message. And sometimes there's a tendency to say,
calm down, buddy. Now it's raining, thunder, and lightning. Anyway, so what did you think about that? Oh, I just don't disagree with it. I disagree with it. It's crazy that, all right, so let me just opine about it. I just find it insane that this is just taken for granted and being implemented all throughout areas of society, like it's totally normal. And
well, I don't think it is. I don't agree with any of that. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist. I can't, intelligently speak about what children can communicate. This is for pre-verbal, I guess, is what the term she used. But I find it disturbing that somebody is going to take anything that a toddler verbalizes seriously. I don't think that you should. I think that you should just, ascribe that to just nonsense. I don't think that the kids should be able to make decisions like that until they're old enough to make decisions like that, which would be at, the age of 18, I suppose, is what our society has decided arbitrarily, but has decided. So I don't have a problem with that. I understand your objection. I share it. I think that, we should just, I guess, go ahead and decide that you should be able to transition when you're allowed to purchase a firearm. And since the right wing wants to make that the age of 6, maybe we should allow people to transition at the age of 6, at least in Texas.
Jokes.
So I'll make a trade with you. You can transition when you can purchase a piece.
When I was a kid, I had perfect. Okay, so I have perfect vision, right? Like I have better than perfect vision. You know that you got 20/20. I think it's like 20/10.
You're like 20/10. Yeah. You got like 20/10.
Okay. I swear I have like perfect vision. So when I was a kid, I pretended like I had bad vision so I can get glasses.
Yeah, get glasses. Yeah.
And I did that, in my Catholic school. I don't know why I did this. It's just so stupid. I did that.
No, but a lot of people do that. Yeah.
A phase.
It's
really?
Relatively common.
That's common?
Yeah, no, it's relatively common.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, relatively, it's not like,
So stupid.
I've heard of that before.
That whole thing is like the transgender thing, kind of. Like,
it can be.
I understand.
Sometimes I think it's legitimate and sometimes it's not.
No, I understand that, there's a lot of, you just want to be like accepted and stuff like that. I don't know. That's part of it, man. It's definitely a major part of it. And these people.
Yeah, I understand. And that's why I'm saying I don't think that I was kidding when I said, the firearm thing. That's a joke, obviously. But I do think that there's, look, let's be honest, right? If we're being straight with this, or not, let's not say straight, but if we're being reasonable about this, there are kids that you can see from the age of like 6 or 7 are clearly gay, right? I mean, you just tell.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
And I don't want to. I grew up with
some
effeminate boys.
Yep.
Yes. Okay.
No problem.
Right. So we understand that. So I think that there is probably a similar situation with people who are transgender. You know damn well that they're going to transition.
Yeah, but the difference
Whether you
is
should allow them to do so at the time is an open question.
Those
Now,
people are
I
not transgender though. They're just gay.
No, I don't see. See, there's a difference between being gay and being transgender, right?
Well, I'm saying
it's not the same.
Effeminate boys that I knew growing up like that,
right,
ended up just being gay men.
Right, but there were probably, maybe you didn't personally know anybody who was transgender when
no,
you were
it's
growing
pushed,
up, but
dude.
I think
It's
that
pushed.
There are people.
It's an identity.
I think it's a genetic thing.
The same way that it's an identity to get glasses and to fake it. That's what's going on, dude.
Yeah,
okay, so anyway, let's move on. Look at this. This is your boy Reagan, Ronald Reagan, talking about abortion.
Ronald
Check this
Reagan.
out. It makes a lot of sense. It's completely logical because it's Reagan. Hold on, watch.
Some time ago, a man beat a woman so savagely that her unborn child was born dead with a fractured skull. And the California State Legislature unanimously passed a law that was signed by the then Democratic governor, signed a law that said that any man who so abuses a pregnant woman that he causes the death of her unborn child shall be charged with murder. Now, isn't it strange that that same woman could have taken the life of her unborn child and it was abortion and not murder? But if somebody else does it, that's murder. And it recognizes, it used the term death of the unborn child.
I love him. He's the best.
He couldn't get elected in the Republican Party today.
No?
They call him a liberal. No, definitely not. They
What
call
was
him a liberal.
What was liberal about that statement?
No, nothing about that statement was
Do you
liberal.
disagree with his logic as a liberal?
Yes, I do, because I do. I think that because if you assault somebody, first of all, you've already committed a crime, assault, right? Now you've killed this fetus against the will of the mother. I believe in the will of the mother, right? I think that the mother has the right to choose to terminate a pregnancy if she so desires. But I don't think that somebody else should be able to force that on her. So I think it's a false equivalence. I don't think it's a legitimate comparison. I understand where he's coming from, but I just don't agree with it.
Okay, at what point do you magically say that this is not right to do? Because at some point you have to say that. I'm sure you're a sensible person and you would agree not to take the kid out at 9 months and butcher him right there on the table, right? Or would you be okay with that?
No, of course not. I would not.
So where
be okay
is
with that.
where
I
is the
think that
cutoff for you?
Okay, so this is a very complicated question, and I think it goes to
and before you say this, I want you to see this
information that I don't have.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Before you say anything, I want you to see this. This is a kangaroo Joey. Watch.
Okay. All right.
At 1 month old, the baby Roo, barely more than the size of a jelly bean, emerges from one of its mother's 2 uteri. Once it's outside her body, it grips her fur, and though it still hasn't developed eyes, it instinctively relies on its forelegs to crawl up towards her pouch. It takes a few minutes for the tiny Roo to reach the pouch. That's it, there. Within minutes, it reaches her pouch and latches on to its mother's teeth.
Okay. Now, please.
Please, what?
You're gonna tell me your opinion on this. I wanted you to just watch that first.
Look, I firmly believe that a woman should have the right to decide whether to take a pregnancy to term or not. Okay, I don't think anybody has any say in that, including the father, except for the mother. I think she is the one who gets to decide. She's the one who has to go through the pregnancy. She's the one who has to go through the living hell of giving birth, a painful, process. We all understand hurts a lot. That doesn't fall on the man, and it doesn't fall on the federal government either, or the state government. And I used to think that Republicans and conservatives in particular believed that in individual rights and not the rights of the state to tell people what to do. But apparently that's not the case, because they want to tell you what to do with your uterus, but not tell dudes what to do with their
Patty
crack.
from Boston.
And
Patty,
I don't agree with that.
Patty from Boston, listen. We both understand where you're coming from on this. You've already made it clear in your argument. I got it. What I want you to do is tell me when the cutoff is, because you just said that you don't agree with 9 months butchering the baby on the table. You're a sensible person.
I don't think anybody does.
You're a sensible person, Patty. When's the cutoff? You saw the kangaroo. You saw the Joey.
I am not a medical doctor.
A clump of cells is not true. Patty, a clump of cells is not true.
You asked me a question. Would you like me to answer it?
Yes.
Okay. I do not know what the actual cutoff should be. I agree there should be a cutoff. I don't know what it is because I'm not a medical doctor. But it seems to me that within the first 2 trimesters is reasonable. I understand people who think that abortion should not be allowed in the 3rd trimester unless it's health of the mother, where there's a legitimate danger that the mother might die in childbirth. That I get. So I'd be willing to accept a ban on what is called partial birth or 3rd trimester abortion. I'm good with that. But what I'm not good with is what these guys, they sneakily in a lot of these state legislatures are saying, oh, well, we're going to ban it after 6 weeks. Most of these women don't even know they're pregnant until after 6 weeks. So this is nonsense. If you're going to be honest about it, intellectually honest, and say you either want to ban abortion in all cases or you want to ban it after a certain amount of time. But when you say 6, 8, 12 weeks, you're not being intellectually honest. You're saying straight up, yeah, we want to ban it before she even knows she's pregnant. So it's a ban on abortion altogether. We understand that, but they're liars. They're straight up BSing us, and I don't appreciate that.
Now, do you think that there's any good that will come out with that will come from mothers being basically like, if you do something and you get pregnant and you have sex out of wedlock, and you're not using protection and you have a child, now it's going to be more difficult for you to have that kid. Now more mothers are going to have to make that decision to have the child. What do you think do you think there's any good is going to come from that, Patty? That's what I want to know.
Because I don't believe, because I think this is a way to control women. I think that's what it is. I think because there's none of these states that have these trigger laws that say abortion is automatically illegal if Roe's overturned. And I think there are like 12 of them. They don't have any laws on the books that say that a man is responsible. He could just walk away. You can just haul ass. You can get out of town, right? The woman is stuck with it, right? So this is not fair. Like, it's straight up like, so if a woman has, and we've all had, Bobby, we've had unprotected premarital sex, right? I would hope at least that you could admit to that. Okay. So any of this could have happened to any one of us. A woman can get pregnant.
I'm saying,
and you are not in a financial position at the time or whatever the reason might be, but you're going to put that on her. Now, I'm not saying you personally would do this, but I'm saying like, we're going to put that on this woman, and you can just kick rocks. You can just walk. And now she's screwed twice with her pants on. It's ridiculous, man. This is not fair.
Now, I'm sorry about your not fair. I'm sorry about your not fair, Patty, but sometimes I think that you got to be hard on people, and daddy needs to come around and smack your behind. Okay. And I'm just saying,
first of all, you just said hard on. And second of all, do you
think that any good is going to come out of this? Any positivity is going to come out of, because it's not going to happen like you said it's going to. There will be laws that are
coat hangers are going to happen.
Hold on, no, there will be laws passed that make the man more responsible. There will be, and then maybe
really?
Yes, and maybe people will decide to have it. Maybe, and even just give it to, maybe the man will decide I'll raise it. You take it to term and then I'll raise it. Hey, you have no idea. Things might change. You have no idea. With the passing of this law, it might affect some people's decisions to go out and have that easy abortion. Maybe they will not do it now. I think some good will come out of that, believe it or not, because they'll have, and you would have been, like if you had a child, your life would change. Your life would completely change, and you'd end up a responsible person. Creating a family, you'd be forced into it, and it would force you into growth and making you a better person.
No, it would just force a growth to take place in my wife's stomach, and I don't think that that's necessarily a good idea. Look, you know what? The bottom line is, I think that I'm really proud of the fact that my wife is a nurse, and I think that she's able to dedicate a lot of her, the vast majority of her time and energy to nursing and helping people who are sick, in large part because she's not required. She doesn't have to parent a child. I mean, I'm not saying you can't do both, but I'm saying I think she's able to spend a lot of time and energy in helping people, in part because she doesn't have to raise a child at home. And that's a decision we made. It's a decision that anybody should be able to make. And I don't understand how this is going to correct behavior, because people have been having irresponsible sex since sex was invented. So I just don't think that. What's that?
Have you had abortions?
I had a girlfriend who had an abortion.
Okay, but not in your marriage though. So you guys practice safe sex somewhat or something?
Yes. And that's one of the things, and I don't want to put stuff out there, but part of the reason that that's possible is because of modern birth control. And I think that a lot of these states like Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, South Dakota, a lot of these states, they're not just going to stop at the abortion ban. They're going to start banning birth control.
No,
if you don't think that's true,
no.
Bobby, I'll make you another bet. You lose these all the time. I don't know why you bother with it, but I'll bet you $100 that Alabama outlaws birth control.
Okay, I'll bet you $100.
How much?
$100.
Okay, there we go.
Absolutely.
It's just put it on the tab, I guess. But yeah, no, I don't want to make this a personal.
I want to see if you're right.
I'm talking about the idea that, look, if you think that a lot of conservatives haven't paid for abortions, you're crazy. If you think that Donald Trump hasn't paid for more than one abortion, I laugh at you. That's just silly, right? So I don't like this. I know I'm not going to convince you that abortion is morally okay, but we can have a discussion about whether it makes good sense public policy wise to outlaw it, right? Because one of the major reasons that Roe was decided the way it was back in 1973 is that there were women dying from coat hanger abortions. And I guarantee there were members of the Supreme Court who thought it was morally wrong, but thought that it was really bad public policy to make it illegal. And that's what we should be arguing about, not the morality of it, because we've all made up our minds about that, right? You've made up your mind that it's wrong. I've made up my mind that it's not. But when we're talking about public policy, you can have a traditional Catholic view. American Catholics traditionally view this was my family mostly believes abortion is a sin, is that it's wrong, but that we also should not make it illegal because the unintended consequences of that would be horrible. And that's where I'm trying to make the argument, not about the morality of it, because I know we're not going to get anywhere with that. That's just not going to work.
Hold on one second. Let me okay. So let me continue on here. I might have to go get Parker and Genghis. But listen, I don't think we're too far off on that whole debate, dude. We're not too far off. All right.
No, I don't think so.
So did you see this in the news? Man arrested after tweet about killing everyone in the Supreme Court goes viral. Did you see that? 20-year-old.
No, I didn't, but it's not surprising.
20-year-old McKeel Archibald was arrested on Sunday after a tweet threatening to kill everybody in the Supreme Court went viral. The threat appears to have been made in response to the reversal of Roe v. Wade. I'm finna kill everyone in the Supreme Court with my AK-47, read the now deleted June 24 tweet. The tweet was made just hours after Roe was overturned. And then I guess libs of TikTok showed that it was deleted and they reposted it.
Yeah.
Because of that, he was says Archibald is facing charges for making a terroristic threat causing fear of imminent severe bodily harm. Police say that they did not locate any firearms on Archibald's property. Despite Archibald's arrest, countless activities online have been making violent threats. Activists have been making violent threats against Supreme Court justices without repercussions. Earlier this year, I highlighted how the same people who have accused me of inciting violence have incited violence themselves in light of Roe's reversal. The colony police said that all threats, including online threats, are taken very seriously and encouraged community members to continue reporting any suspicious activity. The arrest comes shortly after a California man was arrested for allegedly planning to assassinate Justice Kavanaugh. Death threats against Supreme Court justices have increased over the past month following the May leak of the draft opinion overturning Roe v. Wade and rose dramatically following last week's actual reversal of Roe. And Archibald posted a $25,000 bond and has yet to receive a court date. This is
they should prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. He should get whatever the whole meal is. I mean, that's terrible. You can't make terroristic threats like that, and he should go to jail for a long time. I don't care if he had a gun or not. I don't care if he was just talking out of his rear end or not. You can't do that. You can't do that to any public official or anybody in general, like any person. You can't.
Hey, do you have to go anywhere? Do you need to get off?
You want to rephrase that?
Oh, do you have to go? Can you continue on with me for for a little bit more, or do you need to get off right now? Because I understand Sunday.
No, it's fine. Marie's working, so I got nothing.
Okay.
I do have to take a piss here in a minute, though.
Yes, I'm gonna do a pee break right now, and we're gonna come right back. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Okay. All right.
FATENZO.com. Outstanding. Pow!
Oh, that felt so good. Oh my God.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
So, before we took the break, we were on. So, okay, that red flag law, basically this is what this right here. This got me conflicted, man. This got me conflicted. I understand, you know what I'm saying?
So
if you're saying something like that, though, I guess that's, that's out of, there's almost so far you can go with free speech, right? I mean, and then you're saying.
Yeah, see, that's an actual crime, though. That's an actual crime. It's not a red flag. To me, the red flag laws, if I understand them correctly, are potential crimes. People think that somebody might potentially do something illegal, so you confiscate their weapons before they actually commit the act. But this in and of itself is a crime. A terroristic threat is a crime. So it doesn't really fall under red flag laws. This is like just enforcing the damn laws. You know what I mean?
What I'm saying is, you're right. But if this gentleman had any guns, they'd be taken away from him. I mean, obviously he's, also arrested.
Well, yeah, but that's because he's committed a crime.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that's perfectly reasonable to take away his guns. Yeah. And Trump was actually for red flag laws before they told him that he's not supposed to be. And then he realized, oh no, I can't do that. Because he said right in front of Kevin McCarthy and Nancy Pelosi and Amy Klobuchar and Mitch McConnell, that why don't we just take the guns ahead of time? And that just shows you that he doesn't really he's not really like a Second Amendment activist kind of guy like he portrays himself to be. He doesn't understand gun owners because he isn't one and doesn't care about that stuff. He just knows he needs the gun nuts to be able to get elected. So when he said the wrong thing, they had to correct him, and then he was like, "Oh, okay, my bad. We don't like red flag laws, even though 5 minutes ago I did," because he doesn't understand. He's not one of you people. Like he isn't one of you. I don't know why you think he is. Like on abortion, on just about every issue, he's not one of you, man. Why are you guys so hoodwinked by this charlatan, by this BS artist, man? He's not one of you. He would rather chew glass, Bobby, than hang out with you. Guaranteed, because you're not a rich guy. You're not born in the right family. You're not all this, that, and me neither, right? He would rather throw himself down a flight of stairs than eat dinner with you, or basically any of his followers.
I don't think I don't think that's true though.
Really? Why not?
I just don't. I do not believe
you don't want to. It is true. It is true.
Nope.
The woman who built Trump Tower, who was the project manager on Trump Tower, Barbara Rez, she's done a lot of interviews over the last couple of years about Trump. And one of the ones that really got me was she was talking about how she suggested that when the project was done, when Trump Tower was first built and it was finished, that he should attend like a celebration, a party in the penthouse of the building where they would invite all the workers who are mostly illegal Polacks to actually be at the place.
I love it.
And Trump really tried to resist it. He didn't want to.
But you just made
he didn't want to go to it.
You just reinforced everything.
He didn't want to go to it because he thought, he didn't want to go to it because he didn't want to be around these people. You know what I mean? Because he looked down on them. He looked at them as like, necessary evil. You know what I mean? Like he's like, I don't want these disgusting scumbag working class people around me, but we need them to build the damn building. So he goes in and spends like 10 minutes around. That's what he is.
I don't think you're right. I don't think that's true. You don't know what's in the heart of people, and that's not true. And honestly, he was married. How many different Eastern European people has he married? His kids are half Eastern European. That's not true.
Yeah, they were rich supermodels.
Anyway, they came from very humble beginnings, dude. So
all right, every single one of his wives were models.
Listen,
Ivana Trump was a model. Marla Maples was a model. Ivanka and Melania Trump is a model. So you tell me which is more consistent, their European nature or the fact that they're all supermodels?
Listen, stupid idiot. Let's get into this. I want to talk about a Romanian gulag situation that I found a thread on Twitter about, and also there's a little video, but check this out. Look at this.
Okay.
So this is the country that you want. Okay. This is what the liberals want. Somebody says, you think you know the full horrors of communism? Let me introduce you to the Romanian People's Republic re-education experiments at Pest prison. 1949 and 1951. The program has been called among the worst acts of inhumanity by, Solzhenitsyn. So look at that first image right there. It's pretty crazy, right? You see that?
Yeah, it's awful.
Under the direction of the communist Romania's secret police, the Securitate political prisoners, mostly students, were subject to nonstop psychological, spiritual, and physical torture with the sole purpose of creating obedient slaves to the regime. One of the key tactics involved unmasking, which involved different but equally cruel stages. The following details are disturbing. Re-education meant hanging 40 kilograms weights on the backs of prisoners, hair pulling, finger crushing, forcing students to knock heads like rams. Often the people conducted the interrogations and torture were themselves prisoners. Humiliation was key. Prisoners would drink each other's urine, eat each other's feces, or have multiple people stand on their bodies to crush them while banging their heads on the cement floor. Others were burnt by cigarettes on every inch of their bodies until their flesh fell off from infection. At each step of the way, demasking would strip away the psychological defenses of victims. They would have no choice but to reveal the most intimate secrets of their life. Inmates publicly denounced their religions, their beliefs, even their own families and loved ones. Due to the vehemently atheist stance of the Communist Party, religious Christian and Jewish prisoners were forced to attend religious rites like baptisms, drowning in sewage. Brutality and violence were norms. Although many inmates committed suicide, many didn't escape so easily. Later on, prisoners were prevented from committing suicide through the use of safety nets over stairwells. Physical death was not allowed, only the death of the spirit. Several movies and documentaries have been produced about this relatively unknown horror of the modern era. This one with English subtitles is a decent start. I could start it right now, but we don't have time to play the whole thing or anything like that. But I could start it right now just for a second, just to give us an understanding for a sec. Hold on.
Pow!
We can go on that one. Definitely. But that should get that's a little bit to whet your palate and make you understand about communism and where we're going in this privatized communism era.
Well, I'm anti-communist, Bobby. I'm anti-communist, and I don't think that you have to pick between being anti-communist and anti-free speech or anti-freedom or anti-religion. I am not religious, but I don't want to tell you that you can't be. I don't want to be a communist. I don't think that makes me anti-capitalist. I am a capitalist, right? I run my small business. You run your small business. I don't want to be under a communist regime. I would tell you, though, that Vladimir Putin did between 1975 and 1990. He was a member of the KGB, rising to the level of lieutenant colonel in the KGB. The Romanian government that we just learned about right there was a puppet government of the Soviet Union, of Russia, of Vladimir Putin. So I don't know what point you were trying to make with that, but I don't think it worked.
I think that it's happening here in America.
That's insane.
It is. It's happening here in America, but
there is no. Who's a communist in America?
Listen,
what Democratic politician is a communist?
Please, just try to wrap your head around this, okay?
I'm going to wrap your head around something.
They have to seep their communism into whatever government, whatever form of government there is. And so the kind of government that where we have a republic and it's hyper capitalistic, they had to figure out how to implement communism. And what they did was they involved the social media companies, which were who's
a communist in the Democratic Party?